One thing I'll give Brian Callahan, when everything went to all bloody heck with the Titans, he gave up his play calling. Now, the Cardinals did everything possible to lose that game yesterday, to a point where they had an interception that they fumbled for a touchdown. They also fumbled the ball twice in critical situations. So, to that point, I don't think the Titans, Brian Callahan, did amazing. But I think, for the most part, you got to give him a lot of respect. He realized that he was not the best fit for the team, and he decided to step down. And not as head coach again, as offensive play caller. But anyway, beside the point, Zac Taylor spoke today. He's not stepping down. He's not stepping down as offensive play caller. He says, calls the question fair, but points out their process takes as much from other coaches as any play caller in the league. Now, here's what I'll say about the situation, right? This is kind of goes with a lot of other things as well. Zac Taylor is not good at play calling. He is garbage. But the sad part is, we don't have anyone else on our coaching staff that I feel like would be, in theory, better than him. And that is also a factor. It's not like we have an offensive mind, quarterback coach or an offensive mind this, that, of a third. Again, in theory, it feels like anyone would be better than him, but I don't think it would be. So, until we get someone else, a new actual, offensive-minded person, let alone if we just fire Zac Taylor, hopefully, and we get someone else, completely. But there really isn't anyone on the coaching staff at this moment in time who probably is a better play caller than Zac Taylor. And that's saying a lot, because I think Zac Taylor is already a 0, and nobody else apparently is above a 0. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. You might say, well, Dan Pitcher, he's an offense coordinator. Couldn't he be the guy? He could be. I think more or less Dan Pitcher is just a glorified puppet for Zac Taylor. I think Zac calls the plays, and just like how Duke Tobin's a GM, but not actually a GM, he's a player of personnel. I think it's the same concept with Dan Pitcher, where he's just there to be there as a figurehead. Maybe he would be better. I don't know. I really don't even think, my personal opinion, I don't even think Dan Pitcher should have ever gotten the offense coordinator job. I think, again, he's only there because he'll be a yes man to Zac Taylor. And Zac Taylor's ego would allow that to happen. Now, I think a lot of the reasons why he's not stepping down as offense coordinator, again, I think it's because of his ego. And I think the man protects his ego like Fort Knox. Like, he does not want to give up that ego in any way. And giving up play calling would be giving up his ego. So, it is what it is. That's what I'll say about this. It is what it is. It sucks. But again, you're mid-season here. You're not going out there getting a new coach. Well, you could, but you're not going to, in theory, if you're the Bengals here. There's really no one else on the coaching staff that would, in theory, be better. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. I wasn't expecting him to give up play calling anytime soon. If he gives up play calling, it's also because we fired him. So, which I don't think we're going to... I'll say it like this. I do believe we're not going to fire Zac Taylor ever. I do believe eventually they're going to ask him to step down, which is the nice way to fire someone. Instead of saying, hey, listen, bro, you're fired. You're going to say, hey, Zach, best interest here. Please step down. Please tell everyone you're stepping down. And that would be the best option. So I think that's what they're going to do in the end. Whether that's, this offseason, the upcoming offseason, or 17 offseason in the future, we'll have to wait and see. Next thing to talk about, and a little bit more of a positive note, I will say, is that, Zac Taylor talked today, and he said he's going to evaluate its options when asked if Jake Browning will start against Green Bay. So right now, it is not 100% yes, Jake Browning is our starter versus Green Bay, which is awesome because that means, we're actually somewhat looking into it. Now, I want you to keep in mind Zac Taylor is a political figure when it comes to stuff he says. So this is exciting, right? Like, oh, yes, we're going to maybe trade for a quarterback. But at the same time, Zac Taylor is very calculated with stuff he says, and he says stuff based on knowing what the reactions will be. That's why he likes to repeat the same thing over and over again. It sticks in your head. It's easy to digest. He's a very easy to digest type of speaker. So this could mean absolutely nothing. Teams also do this type of stuff to get a competitive advantage on other teams. If you have a quarterback situation that's up in the air, you're going to say stuff like this, right? Because you want the other team not to know what's going on. At the end of the day, last night, Zac Taylor's real response to this, right, was, number one, I have faith in Jake. I think Jake is a great quarterback. I think Jake can win us games. Number two, he said he's going to evaluate every single position when asked about this question. So the fact that the next day happened and now it's like, well, we'll evaluate its options. This seems like him, Duke, and Katie Blackburn talked and said, hey, listen, people are going to threaten not to come to the games. People are going to be upset. Let's put out a response that will at least get people to somewhat think we're doing our jobs correctly. I think this is absolutely horse crap. I don't think this has any actual rhyme or reason. I think this is another example of political speech, politics 101, where you tell someone something, you give them a false fallacy, you give them a false hope to think that something's going to happen, but in reality, you never have faith. That you never have you never have an idea to make something happen. Again, like I said, last night, how would in one day, or less than one day, in less than 24 hours, Zac Taylor be like, you know what, we'll evaluate our options. Like, this is something where you're trying to save face, you're trying to look good, you're trying to keep everything calm and cool and collect, and at the end of the day, maybe they come out with a statement, hey, we tried, which, we all know won't be much of a try at all, and say, we tried to get another quarterback, but it didn't work out. Like, I don't think this has any actual situation with it. Again, maybe I've just lost all faith in Zac Taylor and Duke Tobin. I have, by the way, in case you're wondering. That wasn't a rhetorical question. But, again, like I said, I don't think we're going to get another quarterback. I think that this is going to be Zac Taylor, hey, we're going to run with him. And someone said in the stream last night, and they were actually very correct. Last night was very exciting. Obviously the comeback in the fourth quarter was awesome. But the fourth quarter comeback really solidifies the exact thing that why this won't happen. He scored 21 points in the fourth quarter. Obviously, Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase. He was wide open a couple plays, great plays. But still, that's kind of Zac Taylor's crutch now. And we already know many times from watching Zac Taylor over the years and watching Duke Tobin and Katie Blackburn, if you give them an scapegoat, they will milk that scapegoat until life has left the scapegoat. You give them an inch, they will take a mile. You give them a little speck of hope that they can get out of something, and they will find a way to make that the biggest speck of hope ever. It is what it is. Tell me down below your thoughts and opinions. See you guys next one.